Great Give Radiothon on WNHH 103.5 FM. This is Norma Rodriguez Reyes, your host from the show Que Pasa. We're highlighting New Haven's hardworking nonprofits as they raise monies in a 36-hour event organized by the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. And we want everybody to visit thegreatgive.org, but before you go and visit thegreatgive.org, we want you to know about We Are One. And Ashley Fan, you are the director of the We Are One?
I am.
Thank you so much. So tell us why we should be donating to the We Are One organization. What is it all about? What is We Are One?
Yeah, so We Are One is a grassroots anti-human trafficking nonprofit that I founded in 2022. And what we do is I personally, as the CEO, I use my lived experiences as a survivor, a New Haven survivor of child trafficking, to prevent and empower and provide basic needs resources to victims, survivors, and at-risk youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you reach your clients, the individuals that need this service?
So that's a great question. We like to say we're boots on the ground. So we do it in many ways. I can't get into too many details about how specifically we do it because I don't want to put victims in danger or have them be fearful. But I'm going to go as far as to say we collaborate with law enforcement, state, local, federal. We partner with existing nonprofits that serve the lower income community, minority communities that are at risk. And then as a survivor myself, I'm a survivor from over near Exit 8 in New Haven. I was born into a trafficking family. So I was trafficked by my family in all facets of trafficking. Child sexual exploitation, from like baby child sexual exploitation to exploitation through child labor, and then criminal exploitation, debt bondage, identity theft. So I'm 40 years old and I've experienced almost every check mark of a human trafficking survivor, but locally. So I like to call it like my spidey sense. I can tell when a child is being exploited just by knowing. I don't make assumptions. I don't go and report right away, but I follow the process, and it turns out my instinct from 2 years ago was exactly the correct instinct. And it's, I guess it makes me feel like I went through a form of suffering in plain sight for a reason.
Yep.
So that's how we
So
do
tell
it.
me, if someone that is listening to us at this moment needs your services,
Yes.
what is it that they need to do in order for you to provide those services to them?
Okay, so unfortunately, with human trafficking, I can't say it specifically on media, but I would say it never hurts to go to your local police department and ask for We Are One. That's a safe space to do it. And the reason, it's not that I'm trying to withhold information, it's just I'm always about the safety of survivors. And I don't know how controlled their electronic communication is. So in a normal nonprofit, we would say, go onto a website and put in your email and your phone number. But similar to domestic violence, we would never do that because we would never want to put them at risk, because I don't know exactly their situation and what is controlled. So I would say go into your local police department and say you'd like services through We Are One, and then use their maybe a phone through SVU if they have an SVU department. You could also go into your local library. We partner with libraries regularly. Librarians are amazing for resources. So use another form of communication if you could do that safely. And you can reach out via social media. And I tread lightly on saying that because, again, if you log into your social media and then that's controlled. So your best bet, honestly, is to go into law enforcement, say, I'm a survivor of or I'm a victim of human trafficking. Can I have resources? And let them make the calls, because that is the safest way to go.
Is there any way you can share an incident or something so that we can be more in tune with.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
today I shared with my followers that for the first time on live air, I'm open to sharing what child trafficking looks like for me, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I was born into a family with a family secret of an uncle of which was my great uncle of he was a pedophile, and he molested a significant amount of the girls and cousins in the family. He was my mother's uncle. He's since deceased, so I will just say his name. His name is Richard Cole. He was always known as Uncle Dick, is what they said. I met him once. But it caused some mental health issues for my mother and one of my aunts. But it also caused a lot of self-hate because during that time, they kept the family secret, and they just handled it within the family. And unfortunately, they kept exposing my mother and my aunts and my uncles to, exposing to a pedophile network. Because if there's something that I know from collaborating with law enforcement and researching in my lived experience, pedophiles travel in packs. They don't travel alone. So when you continue to expose, my mother and my aunts, my uncles to their uncle who's a pedophile, his friends are also going to be involved in that. And then there's going to be some learned behavior, possibly by my mom's brother or some. And we always hear that story of, oh, you got one of those uncles. That's not an unusual story, unfortunately, for generational poverty, generational incest, and pedophilia and sexual exploitation of children. That's actually, it's a joke, but I find a lot of survivors of child sexual trauma, we joke about a lot of things, like, oh, you got one of those uncles, so do I. So as a child, my mother only trusted me around her family, which is how she was raised, like a clan mentality, to keep it in the family, keep it a secret. So I can't name who sexually abused me, but I can only name what I remember. I remember at 5 years old, I started reenacting sexual acts with other children in a trailer park that I lived in locally. And those children told on me. And my mother, instead of actually, doing what I help moms do and report to police and do a forensic interview and get, the right resources involved, she then became the sexual abuser, stripping me down naked and beating me. And from that moment on, something switched in her brain. I think I'm not in her brain, but from what I noticed, there was a lot of hate towards me after that. So I have a couple memories of her being nice before 5, but after that, I just saw hate. And in my work, I realized that's actually really common, because when there's this generational sexual exploitation and there's mental health and family secrets and things that aren't taken care of properly, and there's no justice, and you continue to force people to have, she probably didn't like having to continue to be around her uncle. So she saw something in me that I think she hated about herself. So unfortunately, after that happened, I struggled with a lot of health issues, and I broke out in a rash, which I now learn is a trauma response. And when my pediatrician at the time ruled out, and he was a wonderful pediatrician from New Haven, he was Dr. Sid Spiesel. I'll never forget. He was wonderful. He was mine and my brother's. I'll never forget laying on, on the table in the medical office. I had already had 3 appointments. It was a rash that kind of went from here to here. And it looked like chicken pox, so he had ruled out any regular explanation. So he had ruled out chicken pox. He ruled out ringworm, like all the things that you would normally diagnose. It wasn't an infection. And he told my mother to take me to mental health. And I think my mother was a daycare provider, so I'm pretty sure that she knew what that meant, that there was some kind of trauma response. And since she had already crossed the line and had become the abuser, I then never got treatment for whatever happened to me, from baby to 5 years old. And then I suffered physically because my body kept reacting, even though I wasn't being sexually abused after 5. My uterus is completely upside down. So I have a retroverted uterus, which is common. But then when you also have generational pedophilia and, my mother leaving me only with family, and only with family that still associates with pedophiles, I don't know who it could have been a number of men. We lived lower income in a trailer park. And I do always remember that there was always a tripod on me. So that's where the trafficking part comes in. That's where the financial part. So that's where it becomes different from just child sexual abuse to child trafficking, because you're selling a child. And it could be something, it doesn't have to be an exact exchange of money. Like, it doesn't have to be $100 bill. It could be, here's a gift card, I'm going to babysit for free, you go out to dinner. That, taking a financial gain and then knowing that there's some kind of child sexual exploitation going on when you're not there, is still child trafficking. As a survivor, like, I really push law enforcement to understand that just because that woman didn't see exactly what happened, if she knew all the facts and circumstances and still left that child there, as my mother did, it's still child trafficking, because she took the gift. Once you take the gift and you leave the child, that's it. Sorry.
So what was the defining moment that made you create this organization?
It's a funny story, because I didn't know I was a child trafficking victim until last year. I always knew I was a victim of child sexual exploitation. I always knew I was a victim of child abuse, running my mom's home daycare like a house slave. I always knew that. But it wasn't until I started this nonprofit, because I found 2 little Asian girls in a basement in Hamden. I tried reporting it properly, and the children unfortunately fell through the cracks. And I started the nonprofit in 2022. And then law enforcement and politicians started inviting me to wonderful events. Actually, it was at an event hosted by Charmise Walcott, the Hartford State's attorney, sponsored by Grace Farms Foundation. And in that day symposium, it was like, oh my God, I am a classic case of child trafficking, because the financial paper trail existed, the debt bondage. So there was always gifting. My mother was making money by having me work in her home daycare. Then when I was the first of the 13 grandchildren to go to college, I was the third youngest, but the first, the student loan applications started coming in. So then she exploited me further with debt bondage, taking out extra student loans in my name. So in my adult life, basically I still can never get ahead, because my paper trail has been exploited since birth. I call it the throwaway child. In familial child trafficking families, you will find at least one. It's usually only one of the children is the throwaway child, where the trafficking parent, and it's usually not both parents, usually only one, will steal the identity, take out credit in the child's name, take out phones, just ruin the child physically, mentally, and financially. And that is what I have experienced. And yeah.
Okay. Yes. I want to thank you so much for this story, and I really wish that how much is it that you want to raise in this?
So we are trying to raise, our goal is $5,800, because we're trying to be modest here. We know it's difficult times, but if we don't raise this, we're not going to be able to serve over 350 survivors. And that is what we are doing now. And we're doing it on a very, very small budget, boots on the ground, all volunteer. But we really need to raise it. It's for critical operational costs to continue to serve their basic needs.
Well, you've been listening to Ashley Fan, and she is the director of We Are One, and it's an organization that the services are definitely needed out there. So we're hoping that you will donate so that she can raise her $5,800 so that they can still continue to provide the much needed service to all those children that are out there. So please visit thegreatgive.org, and don't forget to donate to any and all of the groups working hard to make our community a better place. And that's definitely what We Are One is doing. Thank you so much, Ashley, for all you do, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.